I'm very, very pleased to have another session today in the Beyond Consulting podcast. I'm having Amy Jones with me today. It's my pleasure. And before we get to speaking, let me introduce her also. She's a transformation expert really for more than 20 years, being head of delivery, working on managerial digital transformation programs. And since 2021, Amy, you're working at Emerald, which operates in the field of academic publications. And you started as program lead digital transformation, went on to director of delivery, and you're now CTO, where a lot of people might think it's a chief technology officer. No, at Emerald's, CTO is the chief transformation officer. And of course, that is a great journey, and we'd love to hear more. We want to speak about this journey today, the publishing industry, and about how consultants maybe also play a role there. Welcome to the show, Amy.
No, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you about all of this. I think it's going to be really interesting. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you've been a long time, in industry and transformation initiatives. What hooked you about the publishing industry and academic publishing? I'm not sure if everyone also is aware what is the academic publishing world. So if you could explain that a little bit to us and what keeps you excited about it.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So I've always wanted to work in publishing, like since I was a small child, wanted to be a writer or an author or whatever. So my career started out in journalism. And then, as these things do, it kind of evolved from the written words to digital words to managing websites and then into sort of transformation programs. And I sort of realized I was okay at organizing people. So change became where I was. And then a few years ago now, Emerald was looking for a program lead for their transformation program. And when I spoke to them about it, it just felt really exciting because they wanted to change everything. And obviously they were publishing. So it just sort of felt like something that would be great to get involved with. And I haven't looked back since I joined Emerald. So academic publishing, for some people that aren't aware, is obviously publishing of research and sort of things that come out of academia. So it's things from researchers and universities and organizations like that. So for Emerald, it's about, we have a purpose that is we want to promote real world impact from the things that we publish. And again, that resonates with me as sort of what we're delivering is not just for us, it's for everybody. So I think that's really important as well.
So you bring out groundbreaking research from professors, universities for the public, for other academics to read it.
Yeah, and sort of to build on. So there's a sort of like a cyclical process where research that's been done years ago is still being built on now, and so there is that sort of growth as well as sort of anything that we publish can actually last forever. So, yeah.
Yeah, it becomes part of the almost eternity then.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
And I know a long time ago, I was speaking with friends and I said, like, oh, if you publish a book, then you're there forever, right? It's there. But I mean, academic publishing, it's there since a long time. Yeah? What are the most significant forces that you see there shaping the industry? And are there any disruptions also that we see? I know the printing industry, of course, book printing, and so they are facing tough times since decades. People tend to read not so many books anymore, but I don't know if that's true. Yeah? So you are the expert on that.
I don't know if I'm the expert on that, but the academic publishing is just facing this fascinating crossroads at the moment. So for Emerald, our strategic priorities are being shaped by a convergence of forces that are both technological and cultural. So AI is obviously a major driver, not just for operational efficiency, but as a strategic differentiator for us. So in the industry, we're seeing it transform peer review. So that's people who review the articles and the content, content discoverability, and even how we can manage those stakeholder identities to sort of enforce trust sort of in those stakeholders. But from that publishing perspective, there are also some very real threats posed by AI too. So we suffer by submissions from paper mills. So this is businesses that produce fraudulent or poor quality research papers en masse for people who want to purchase authorship because they need to be seen as authors. So obviously we have to try and filter those out of what we're publishing to sort of keep the quality where it needs to be. So and AI is also reshaping how we can access knowledge. So not always in ways that help academic publishers, because the rise of that zero-click search engine sort of means that users get AI-generated summaries of research without even visiting the publisher's site. So that obviously cuts off our traffic, revenue, visibility. So these are real threats that we need to face into. But one that's quite important to me that I really worry about from this sort of AI future perspective is trust. So summaries can misrepresent complex studies. They can undermine the credibility of academic work. And as those AI platforms become those new gatekeepers, publishers do risk being sidelined entirely in that process. And of course, in all of this, we can't ignore the economic and political headwinds. So right now, a very real disruptor is political pressure, especially from the US administration and those sort of things. We're seeing cuts to research funding, especially for work tied to diversity and climate, and that's limiting what gets studied and what gets published. So there's growing interference in editorial decisions, with journals, libraries facing scrutiny over that politically sensitive topics. So with less funding, open access, which is great for equity in the publishing industry, it takes a hit. So it shrinks the pool of publicly available research and can then affect how those AI systems will learn going forward. So it's not just about publishing, it's about who controls that knowledge for the future as well.
And who controls it? Is it the publisher? Is it the academic? Is it the platform? How is that at the moment?
I mean, so from my perspective, working for a publisher, we are. I feel like we have a great responsibility to deliver trust. I mean, that's things like peer review comes in. So obviously, authors will send us their researchers will send us their research, and we'll review it by peers. So sort of we multiple people will review that article to make sure that it's valid, it's good, it's and everything. And obviously the editorial process that we go through as well makes these things trusted. So there is a large role that we play in that. But obviously, it's a combined responsibility of everybody in the process to make sure that what's getting out into the world is good. So it's very difficult, and it's on a balancing edge at the moment, I think, around where that sits.
So you say, like, basically you create the trust when you say, look, it's peer reviewed, it comes through Emerald, you give the quality stamp, basically.
I mean, the authors obviously have their own quality stamp, because they may have produced many things, but our editors, our peer reviewers are amazing at what they do. So yeah, they do through that process. They add a level of trust into what's been produced, so that it's not sort of just put out there. It's factually validated from that sense.
Now, with all these forces going on, I think when we first spoke, you mentioned also that Emerald went through a significant transformation over the last years. And I think it also, some of the things just recently been finalized or finished, as far as you can say that with a transformation, of course, but very successfully finalized also. Can you give us a glimpse into what was the transformation happening in the last years?
Yeah, sure. So we've recently, literally last week actually, replaced our front end platform. So this is it's our Emerald Insight platform. It's the platform that researchers will go to search and find information, and then obviously they can find those articles that have been published, or those books that have been published, and cite them in their future work if they want to sort of build on those ideas and concepts. So we had a bespoke platform that we had developed in-house over a number of years, and sort of came to the conclusion that we wanted to move to a third-party platform to sort of benefit from the skills that those third parties would have. So we picked a partner called Silverchair, and yeah, it was about us doubling down on the fact that we're a publisher. Our assets are content. We're not a technology provider. So if we can use those skills from other parties to advances, then that was our area of focus.
And I mean, I could imagine that is a big step, especially if you have a long history. And I could imagine also a lot of our listeners work in companies where you have bespoke systems, and you think, why not move to a third-party system or open source or whatever the stack could look like to make best use of future features, AI and applications becoming more flexible. What actually moved the needle for you? That you came to this point and say, okay, look, we have this legacy system. We want to really have something new.
So I mean, it's a great question.
Was it the customers? Was it you internally? Were there pain points? Like, what kind of moved the needle in the end?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, everybody goes through it, and I think anybody that's worked in technology and industry for a while, it ebbs and flows. You sort of you build in house, you go external, and sort of you do those things. For us, it really gets to the heart of why this program was a pivotal moment for Emerald. So historically, like you say, we relied on those bespoke systems. They gave us control, but with that also came complexity, cost, a lot of technical debt. Every time we wanted to evolve, whether it was launching a new product or integrating with a partner or improving user experience, we had to navigate those layers of custom code and legacy architecture to sort of make those adaptations. So with this program, we made that deliberate shift. So we moved towards standard components, industry-aligned platforms like Silverchair, supported by our own, we've built a middleware as part of this, so the Emerald service layer middleware as part of it. So the goal was to simplify, scale, and future-proof. So we wanted to reduce the burden of maintaining those one-off solutions and instead invest in capabilities that can evolve with us. So one of the key drivers was integration. So our old systems struggled to connect. There are lots of sort of manual integrations, not technical integrations involved. So whether it's linking content delivery with our CRM or syncing usage data with the finance system, with these standard components, we've now built a more modular architecture. So that means we can plug in new services, adapt to those changing business models, and just respond faster to market needs. So and another big factor for us was actually sustainability. So bespoke systems obviously lock you into that cycle of reactive fixes. Whereas with these standard components, we're able to benefit from community-driven development. So there's a large part of the Silverchair ethos is that their customers are all part of the Silverchair community. So we get shared innovation, that vendor support, and that helps us improve our accessibility, compliance, performance, all while reducing overhead. So it was kind of there was no question that this was the best approach for us when we actually looked into it. So
I think it just going there a little bit more in depth even. Yeah. So I know it myself, being a consultant for a long time. Of course, you have all these things and all the benefits that you'd get from the new system. But then there is maybe also a finance department that says, look, what is the business case? You have this old system. Can you actually shut it down at some point? Or will there be parallel running costs even, which would even make higher costs? There may be also those things where you can't get your financial head easily around, where you say customer needs it. If you don't have it, they're out of market. How do you price that in the business case? How was that for you?
Yeah, so we did the maths. We obviously did the business case before we started on the process. So with our internal system and obviously the platform that we were on and sort of everything, when it came down to it, we've got a sort of internal rate of return of over 20% over I think it's a 7-year period that we ended up in. So the money spoke for itself. But the functionality, those more intangible benefits are significant too. So the functionality on the platform is greater than the functionality that we had on our bespoke platform. And some of the features we've been sort of planning for years almost, but just never got round to building for ourselves, whereas they're default parts of the Silverchair platform that we've been able to benefit from. So from a cost perspective, we're doing quite well out of it in the end. But it's not necessarily about that for us. So it was about that focus. So moving away from those custom builds, we've freed up our teams to focus on what really matters. So they can focus on enhancing that author experience and improving discoverability and delivering content that makes a difference. So it allows us to reprioritize that effort that we were putting into that bespoke tech into our core purpose, so publishing applied research with real world impact. And the shift's been quite bold, but it's absolutely the right move for us, and it's helped us become more agile, more resilient, and just more aligned with that future for academic publishing.
And so you said you've finished that last week. Congrats. Did you do that all yourself? Were there consultants involved in the transformation? How do you see the role of consultants helping companies like yours to really drive those programs, those transformational efforts forward?
Yeah, I mean, we've relied heavily on partners through this whole piece. Even from before I joined Emerald, we had consultants in who did a review of all of our systems, back end, front end, everything, and gave us advice on that they all needed replacing. We needed to modernize ourselves to be able to sort of compete. But through this actual program, the partners have been key. So I've obviously mentioned Silverchair from a platform perspective, and one of the things that they did that was great for us was they have experience with other publishers. We obviously have our bespoke processes that we've grown up with and that we're very used to. And they were able to give us real steer around, well, you're doing it this way, but everybody else is doing it that way. Is this really the differentiator for you? Is this really the thing that you think gives you core value? Or are you happy fitting with these standardized approaches? And so, yeah, the focus for us was about leaning into our strengths and finding those partners and experts that we can trust to fill in the gaps. So with the piece that I mentioned, the Emerald service layer, so we partnered with an organization called Solid Soft Reply. So they helped us to build the ESL using Azure components. But at the same time, they worked to upskill our in-house teams to be able to maintain and evolve the technology going forwards. So our previous platform was based on Amazon Web Services. So we obviously needed somebody to be able to coach the team in the Azure technology and then the best approaches. And the team could have learned the tech in other ways. They could have learned by doing, they could have done training courses, they could have done all of this stuff. But by partnering with SolidStaff, they've kind of turbocharged our capabilities, as it were. So those sort of experts have given us that boost. And we use the same approach for building our data platform with a partner called Oakland. And they're experts in data and data structures. So they've been able to support our data journey on a number of occasions. So again, with the idea that our teams are learning from these consultants, these experts, in a more collaborative way. So it's not a case of bringing somebody in to fix something for us to then break, for them to come back and fix. It's about that evolutionary journey as it goes forward.
So, I mean, coming from that expert consulting network industry, I would say like it's a precise injection of knowledge in your organization to help your teams go faster.
Exactly. Yeah.
How would you, and there's of course all these different models out there. You say, okay, we need the knowledge, we want to ramp up the team faster. There are maybe also some hands missing where you bring additional capacity for a certain period of time. And of course, you can do that with individual freelancers. You can do it with strategic partners. What have you learned over the years? Like, what model works best for you? Having individual freelancers, having platforms to draw people from, having strategic service providers. How would you navigate choosing one or the other?
I think it totally depends on the circumstance. So we bring in individuals, so testers, developers, project managers in any circumstance, but that might just be one person for one thing. But other times it makes more sense to have a whole team to come in, or a whole sort of organization to come and help us do things. So it totally depends on the circumstance. And I think, when it comes down to it, for me, the most important factor is actually cultural fit. So particularly for Emeralds, we have an amazing culture as an organization, and bringing people in with different working styles, different attitudes, different everything can actually disrupt that more than it can help. So making sure that it does become a collaborative partnership, I think, is more important, whether it's one person or 100 people, than sort of sticking firmly to I only use this type of consultant sort of approach to things.
How do you assess that? I mean, if you went through that program now with multiple partners, as you said, like, is it just, you have a talk and you see how it's going? How do you, because I mean, it's important, I completely agree, but how do you make sure there is this cultural fit? How do you figure it out? And what do you do if there is none? Yeah,
I mean, yeah, so we're moving on to a sort of our next program activity now to replace our finance system, sort of off the back of the Emerald Insight refresh, and so we've obviously been through an RFP process to find a partner, and we started that approach by asking Microsoft for some recommendations for partners, and Googling, who's a good partner for this sort of thing, and. What I actually did was I was doing an AI course to sort of learn about AI and how I can use it better and things like that. And one of the sort of the tasks as part of that course was to use AI to plan out a CRM replacement. So I tweaked it a bit and swapped it for ERP from CRM and see what came up. And it was a multi-chain approach to it. So you kind of asked it, who are the partners that there are out there for an academic publisher, and give it a bit of background on this, that, and the other, and then ask it more stuff. And it actually came up with a recommendation for a partner that I'd never heard of before, but they're specialists in publishing, so and publishing ERP replacements. So we'd already decided at that point. We'd been through a whole process. We'd worked with a consultant to do a review of our requirements against whether we went with Microsoft Business Central or Microsoft D365, so that sort of the full sort of finance system package. And the conclusion, it was largely inconclusive, but at the end of it, we decided that the best approach for us was to go for the full on. We're going to go for Dynamics 365, the big system, and have all of the customizations and functionality that are in that. Well, the partner that AI recommended to me, that Copilot recommended to me, K&K, they specialize in Business Central. So we'd already picked 3 or 4 partners to take down an RFP route to talk to about D365. And I did this course and I said, look, we can't not include this K&K because they've come out as the number 1 recommendation in this thing that I did, but also they're the only partner that I've seen that specialize in the publishing industry. So why wouldn't we try to use their expertise for us as well? So we brought them into the process, and it was difficult because their proposition was different than the proposition that we were getting from the other 4 partners. So that the approach that we built was asking those partners to put in this D365 platform for us, not Business Central. So it was difficult to tailor it so that we weren't favoring one or the other, all of those pieces. But what it actually came down to was, like I say, what we're looking for from a consultant, what we're looking for from a partner, is somebody who can fill the gaps that we have. And our gap is in the best approach to doing these things using this technology. Whereas with the other partners, we would have had to have been the experts in the room. We would have had to explain to them how publishing works. We would have had to explain to them everything about open access and books Onyx and AIP and a million other acronyms that I could spout that are specific to our industry. Whereas K&K got it. They already knew those things and they'd already got solutions for them. So, I mean, not to preempt who we picked or anything, but that's what we came to.
Point that you mentioned earlier, where you say, look, there is maybe someone who can challenge me on my own processes in my industry. So it's like, okay, this is very interesting, but no one else is doing it like this.
Yeah, exactly that. For me, the value from consultants, the value from experts, from partners, is almost more about that coaching attitude than it is about somebody who comes in and says, no, do it like this. It's more about allowing that collaboration, that conversation where you sort of, they make you think. They make you sort of like, actually, why are we doing it like this? Why have we always done this process? And then you can sort of move on from there.
What's your best practice there? So I imagine, you've gone to tons of, also with the existing front end that you've successfully launched. You go through a whole lot of processes, and each process you look at, is it sort of like, should we change something or we just implement it like we have it in the new system? And probably there is a lot of people involved also, and you don't have time really to think about every single process in detail or even keep control or oversight of all the things that get decided. Do you have a North Star how to take those decisions? Do we rebuild the process? Do we use the one that we already have? Do we adjust it? How do you go about that?
I mean, I'll be honest, for a lot of the big transformation programs, I know a lot of the methodologies talk about, document your as is and then work out what your to be is going to be and all this sort of stuff. In some circumstances, it's almost not worth documenting the as if. If you've already decided that that process is inappropriate, is manual, is whatever, it's more about documenting the outcome of the process than it is about documenting the actual process. So for us, we had that the requirements that we gather are more about, that end state than the how we get there. And then the how we get there comes from the project is sort of a better way to do it in a lot of cases.
Saving time basically on the
Yeah, I mean, it does save time. I mean, you do need to have some awareness of the processes, and obviously so we're using a tool called Value Blue from Blue Dolphin. So it's an enterprise architecture tool, and we're trying to document all of our processes, all of our data points, all of our roles, all of our everything in it across the value chains that we have as an organization, so that we can then sort of say, right, okay, so if we're doing this thing, then the impact on the value chain is all of this, and it spiders out from it, kind of thing. So we are trying to get to that point of having that understanding before we start things. But obviously, you can't stop everything just to document all of the stuff. So we're sort of doing it alongside.
Right. And when we initially spoke, you mentioned that you're also now in early phases of reviewing the front end launch project or the transformation program, drawing some lessons learned. Are there any things that you could share with us already? What are your lessons learned on how to do a great transformation if you were to advise peers or other digital transformation leaders?
I sort of it's one of the things that I always say when I'm recruiting project managers and things like that. I'm not going to mark you on whether you got it in on time, you got the right money, you got the right scope or whatever. And it's more about that collective feeling that everybody was moving forward in the right way. So yeah, it's now that the program is live, we've entered that really important phase. So reflecting on what we've learned through it. And what's been striking for me at the moment is the depth and honesty of those reflections from the team. So we've run surveys, we've facilitated work stream retrospectives, that we've held sponsor debriefs. So it's all been designed to surface not just what went well, but what caused friction, what surprised us, and mostly what we do differently next time to make sure that we can improve on what we did. So one of the clearest themes for me that's come out of it is the importance of clarity. So clarity of roles, decision-making, communication. So in a program as complex as this was, ambiguity can slow you down or create unnecessary tension across work streams. So where we had that clear ownership and aligned governance, things moved quickly. Where we didn't, we saw rework and confusion. So if I had to distill that one key principle for leading those successful transformations, it would be create clarity early and then protect it fiercely through the whole thing. And this fits with the requirements gathering as well. Once we've decided that that's what we're doing, that's the facts. That's what it is. So it means being intentional about how you set up the teams, how decisions get made, how information flows. And it's not just about structure. Again, it's about culture. So people need to know where they fit, what's expected, and then just how to escalate when things get stuck. And they need to feel safe doing it as well. So they don't need to feel like they have to stay in their own bubble. And I think, going back to what you asked me earlier, for consultants, for us, the importance there is that they embedded, they didn't orbit. Those best external partners we work with didn't just deliver the tasks, they became part of our team. So they understood our context, they adapted to our pace, they helped us think strategically. So whether it was solid soft reply that supported the integration layer, or even legal advisors that helped us navigate the contracts, the ones who added the most value were those who saw themselves as the co-owners of those outcomes for us. And I think the other advice that I would give to transformation leaders is don't wait to the end to reflect. So we built lessons learned into the program from the start. it's not just a post-mortem, it's continuous feedback. And we've adapted through this whole program. So we started out with maybe 2 work streams. I think we've ended up with 6 at the end of it. As we were going through, we've evolved how the program was structured, again, based on that clarity of people's roles and responsibilities throughout.
There's 2 follow-on questions for me. The one you mentioned, there needs to be this clarity, and you need to protect it. Now you go from 2 work streams to 6 work streams over a couple of years, stuff changes. How do you protect that clarity?
I mean,
what does it mean also for you to protect it? Maybe there's 1 or 2 examples also.
It kind of means, so yes, we've evolved where we were. So we haven't just locked in at the start and gone, we're doing this and that's it. Nobody change anything. Just stick to what we're doing. It's about bringing people along the journey. So when you do find those points, like I said, where there isn't that clear ownership or aligned governance and things are slowing down or there's confusion or rework coming in, it's about taking that moment to reflect, that moment to learn, and making sure then that, right, okay, guys, we were doing this, we're now doing this, and sort of pulling everybody along with us.
So taking everyone along, basically, also with the changes.
Yeah, definitely.
Super. Amy, thanks a lot for the advice. I think I find it personally super interesting. We could go on forever, but also being conscious of the time because you're very, very busy. And maybe we have a little rapid fire question section that I want to take you through, if that's okay. There's no right or wrong. Just don't overthink it too much. But of course, if that you're working for a publishing company, the first one is, what's one book every transformation leader should read, and one they should avoid? Absolutely.
So I think for me, I mean, like I said to you, I've always loved publishing. I've always loved reading, writing, everything sort of related to the written word. So I think that people should just read everything and read often. So you never know where that spark's going to come that will help in a transformation program. So, but to give an actual example, at the moment, I'm actually reading a series of books from Emerald that's called Exploring Effective Leadership Practices Through Popular Culture. So it's a collection of books that make leadership theories more accessible and applicable by aligning them to popular culture. So the one I'm actually reading at the moment is Leaders Assemble, Exploring Leadership in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So the other titles are, A Manager's Guide to Using the Force, or Leadership in Middle-earth, or there's even one, Swift Leadership, a Taylor Swift-inspired take on influence and decision-making. And they're great because they do just distill those key bits of leadership down to things that you can really resonate and again, play back to people in ways that are great. So there's a whole series of them, and I'm only a couple of books in, so that's what I'm on at the moment.
Super. If there would be an academic article that you would like to shoot into the brains of every CEO in the world, which topic would it cover?
We've talked about it a couple of times, so I think the topic would be around culture. So I think culture is key to everything. So one that I sort of searched up and sort of found was, there's one called Organizational Adaptability in the Age of Complexity. And I think, so it's not just about change management, but that deep adaptability that you can build in. So it sort of rewires how organizations think, learn, and evolve. So because disruption isn't episodic anymore, it's constant. So from AI to climate change to geopolitical shifts, talent expectations, the pace and scale of change are just unprecedented. So, and many organizations are still wired for that stability, not agility. So I think if there's the sort of articles that I would suggest are around how to deal with that cultural shift and how to sort of help people, bring people along, again, that clarity piece.
Thank you. Lastly, if Emerald had a mascot for transformation, or you could choose an animal like your transformation would look like, what would it be and why?
So with our transformation programs, we try and give them code names, obviously when they're in their infancy and stuff. And we had a run of really random code names. So we made a decision to pick a theme and stick with it. And the theme was bird names. So our platform transformation was Project Pelican. our ERP transformation is Project Swan. So I have used AI to help me with this answer because so we talked about this earlier. But I think if I had to pick a bird, because birds are now in our transformational culture, it would probably be a starling. So starlings are they're masters of collective intelligence. They, when faced with a challenge, they don't act alone, they swarm. And swarming is in Emerald's culture. Whenever there's a problem, we jump on it and we fix it. So those murmurations that starlings do are displays of coordination, adaptability, and speed. So, thousands of individuals moving as one, responding instantly to shifts in the environment. And that's exactly how Emerald has approached transformation. Not through those isolated heroics, but through cross-functional collaboration, rapid iteration, and just that shared purpose, that clarity that we talked about before. So, our transformation mascot would need to be the starling. So fast, focused, and fiercely collaborative is what AI told me it is. so that sort of symbol of what's possible when people swarm around a problem and solve it together.
Super, Amy. Thanks very much for that.
No
I
problem.
hope you also enjoyed the discussion.
I did,
It
yeah.
was
Thank
amazing for me. Thanks very much for taking the time today and being a guest on the Beyond Consulting podcast.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for having me.